Welcome back to Owl Week 2025.
All right.
This time we're going to be talking about Eastern Screech-Owl. Josh, this is a Screech-Owl experience you had on the CBC recently. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, this was a really cool experience. This is actually my first visual on Screech-Owl. I've heard them many times before, but had never seen one until this night. But um, we basically, or this morning, I guess. But yeah, just called it in at a local park about 2 miles from my house, and this is a place that we've kind of known they've been um, on a few occasions. So it's a place I monitor periodically, and this little guy was there this morning, so right by, just kind of pulled up in the location, played the recording, and there it was. Just kind of looked behind me, and about I don't know, 15 feet away on a little branch at eye level, he was slowly and quietly whinnying. So really cool experience.
Yeah, they're fun birds, and I mean, you mentioned kind of just going to kind of a small park. To find a screech owl, you don't necessarily need a big, massive area of habitat. And sometimes my experience has been, if you want to find one, that you are better off going to a small little area of habitat where they're going to defend it. That if you go to big areas, sometimes I get the sense that they may kind of come in, but they don't necessarily let their presence be known. They're just kind of checking you out because they've
Yeah.
got a little bit of elbow room. Whereas if you can find a small little patch of big trees, ideally next to kind of some water, seems like usually there's some running water or kind of a drain moving through it, is another place that screech owls can be findable. The other way, obviously, is to find one on day roost. You saw Josh's bird was in what Sibley calls a threatening display, that it's looking around and it was actively looking to engage an intruder rather than the very vertical body habitus that they have when they're worried or scared. This one is what Sibley describes as sunbathing, even though here in this knothole, it's not exactly there's not a ton of sun just yet.
Oh, nice. He's
This
really
was
cool.
David's bird that he found in South County. Apparently, this bird has been there for a couple of years now, and I suppose he could have mentioned it for Birdathon at some point, but we have
Yeah.
never used this bird on Birdathon. It's kind of
Looking.
funny as that bird is just kind of opening
Yeah.
and closing his mouth. I don't know if he's thinking about gacking up a pellet. I don't know if it's just like an old man during the Christmas Vacation movie who's like half asleep and snoring logs in the living room,
Yeah.
or exactly what that bird is doing with that behavior. I'll tell you my second best screech owl story was also from Birdathon a few years ago, that we were pulling up to a spot and slowing down on a dirt road where there had been one on a Christmas count. And Tim says, "You just ran over a Swainson's thrush." And I'm just like, "Get out of here. I did not just hit a Swainson's." And they're like, "No, you didn't hit it. It hunched down and the car went over it." And I was just like, "Okay, that's nuts, but fine." So we stop because we're going to play for Screech Owl anyways. And we get out of the car and we hear whit, 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 that this Swainson's thrush is thanking all things that are holy and many things that aren't, that about it surviving its near-death experience that it just went through of being driven over by a car. So we were there to there for a screech owl. So we started whistling screech owl while the thrush is just whit 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 whit, and we keep whistling screech owl, and it keeps whit whit whit.
What time of day is this?
And this is before dawn, and we're almost out of
Okay.
time before the sun will rise. And yeah, then the thrush stops whitting, and then the screech owl flies over and is carrying something.
Oh
We
no.
ran over that thrush. We gave it a near-death experience, and then we whistled in death to meet it.
Wow. Wow, what a story. Those guys are vicious. I was just reading about, surprisingly, they've been known to take birds as large as woodcocks, I think is the largest known species to ever been taken by Eastern Screech. So yeah, just
You see why the birds will
cute
mob
little
these
killing
guys.
machines.
Why you whistle screech owl, little birds will come in and say, "Yeah, get out of my land." But if you want to
Exactly.
hear our first best story, then you should subscribe to the video because we may circle back to screech owl in the future.
All right, like, comment, subscribe.